With every day that goes by, more and more information is being released on Cerelyn Davis, as well as the inner workings of the Memphis Police Department. Now, recently, it was just revealed that Cerelyn Davis received her police training from, get this, them folks. Now, if you're new to this channel, you probably don't know who them folks are, but as you can see right here, as I have highlighted, them folks are from the country that you see highlighted right here on this article. We don't typically say their name here. We refer to them as them folks. And just as a quick heads up, this entire video is going to be heavily codified because YouTube's AI system is always listening, looking for a reason to ding your videos. So to discuss today's topic, I'm going to have to articulate myself in a heavily codified manner. So as usual, I will refer to the people that Kanye West has issues with as them folks. The country that they say that they're from, I will refer to as Abraham or Abrahamic. And as it pertains to the original occupants of that land, I will refer to them as just that, the original occupants of that land. So now let's get into today's information. This article comes from The Intercept and it's titled, Memphis Police Chief Trained with Abrahamic Security Forces. The death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols at the hands of Memphis police officers last month once again ignited outrage over the violent, militarized nature of U.S. law enforcement and placed scrutiny on the police department's bloated budgets. Among the objections to policing that are being reviewed are criticisms of a controversial series of trainings and exchange programs for U.S. police in Abraham. Scores of American law enforcement leaders have attended the programs where they learn from Abrahamic police and security forces known for systemically abusing the human rights of the original occupants of that land. Some of the Memphis Police Department's top brass, including current Chief Cerelyn Davis, participated in the programs. Davis, who previously helmed the Police Department of Durham, North Carolina, completed a leadership program with the Abrahamic National Police in 2013. While an officer with Atlanta Police Department, Davis also established an international exchange program with Abrahamic police and coordinated department leaders' delegations to Abraham, according to an old resume. We know without a shadow of a doubt that what takes place during U.S. Abrahamic police exchanges does nothing to keep our communities safe. Aaron Afraidy, Director of Campaigns and Partnerships for the progressive group, Them Folks, Voice of Peace. And just to clarify, because I am using codified language and that might have sounded a little truncated, that individual is one of them folks, but he has a progressive organization called Them Folks Voice for Peace, where he speaks out against the negative things that his people do in his community here in America as well as abroad. So now let's carry on. And this is a direct quote that I'm going to get into next by this individual. And I quote, "But the exchanges refine and enhance the militarization rooted in American policing with Abrahamic tactics and technology of occupation and apartheid that were being tested on the original occupants of that land on a daily basis." By the time she became chief of Durham, Davis seemed to have changed her tune on such programs. The apparent coolness on the police-Abrahamic relationships came following pressure from local activists and the national campaign to end U.S. Abrahamic police exchanges. In 2018, Durham became the first city in the U.S. to ban police training and exchanges involving the Abrahamic military. At the time, Davis wrote in a memo that she had no intentions to participate or initiate an exchange with Abraham, which prompted two Abrahamic volunteer police officers to sue her and the Durham Police Department for discrimination. A spokesperson for the Memphis Police Department did not immediately respond to a request to explain the chief's changed position on the exchange with Abraham. Now, I want you all to pay attention to how we're starting to see a pattern develop with Miss Cerelyn Davis. Now, while she was with Atlanta PD, she was a member and led one of the Red Dog units. The Red Dog units, as we all know, was an oppressive unit that existed in Atlanta. that terrorized the black community over there in Atlanta. As we've discussed in the past, these special units like the Scorpion unit in Memphis or the Red Dogs in Atlanta, these are units that were put in place to root out violent crime and drug dealers in high crime areas. But what happens with them is that they often turn into rogue police units that are like wild dogs off a leash, barking and biting everyone that comes in their path. And it's not until they maul someone to death that all of a sudden now the owner wants to put the unit or the dog in this metaphor down. And as we come back to Cerelyn Davis, we see this pattern with her where while she was on Atlanta PD, she got caught up in a child corn, C-O-R-N, a child pornography scandal to which she was fired from Atlanta PD, but then reinstated. And then after reinstatement, she continued to lead one of the Red Dog units over there. Then after she retires from Atlanta PD, in an effort to cover up her tracks concerning all of the baggage that she was bringing with her from the Atlanta PD, she then turns around and becomes the model progressive police chief in Durham, North Carolina, where she's all about police reform. Now, while in Durham, North Carolina, she revamps her image by pretending to be this progressive police chief and doing a handful of reforms like the one we just read now, where she apparently banned all U.S. police training with them folks. But then after cleaning up her image, she then becomes the police chief of the Memphis Police Department and then immediately creates another Red Dog-esque unit, now known as the Scorpion unit, and incorporates all of the training that she received from them folks that come from the land of Abraham. Wink, wink. You all know what I mean. And then once again, as predicted, when the wild dog mauls someone to death, in this particular case, Tyree Nichols, what does she do? She immediately, in an effort to cover up her own tracks and to cover up her own past, becomes the model progressive police chief who immediately disbands the Scorpion unit. And is tough on cops, immediately condemning the 5 officers who beat Tyree Nichols to death. Now, some of you may be thinking to yourself, well, what's the problem with that? When an issue arises, she takes care of the issue immediately. And that sounds good on the surface, but you have to look at the pattern of her being reactionary. It's never until someone gets mauled to death or almost beaten to death that now all of a sudden you're all about reform. She is never proactive, only reactive. And she is only reactive in order to cover up her own tracks and her own past. But I digress, because she wasn't the only member of the Memphis Police Department who received training by them folks. Davis wasn't the only top cop in Memphis to have participated in the exchanges with Abraham. One of her predecessors, Larry Goodwin, also trained there as part of a Homeland Security International Conference. Goodwin, who is known for having introduced the Blue Crush predictive policing technology to the city, spoke about wanting to adopt some of the techniques he learned about in Abraham in Memphis. So Larry Goodwin was also trained by them folks, and once he got back to Memphis, immediately implemented that training within the Memphis Police Department. As The Intercept previously reported, the Memphis Police Department has a long history of surveillance, particularly of black activists. We're going to try to incorporate some things here, Goodwin told reporters at the time. We're doing a lot of it, but there's still some other things we can do technology-wise. I picked up some very good information. So Goodwin couldn't wait to come back to Memphis and apply that Abrahamic training that he received from them folks. Critics of the exchange with Abrahamic security forces point out that the partnership allowed for a swap of worst practices. During these trainings in Abraham, U.S. Abrahamic officials visit checkpoints, prisons, airports, as well as sites of well-documented human rights abuses against the original occupants of that land, said Afraidy of them folks' Voice for Peace. Participants witnessed real-life examples of repressive violence, watching the Abrahamic military repress protests in the occupied West Bank and joining Abrahamic police patrols in East Jerusalem and along the militarized fence blockading Gaza. Training, whether in Abraham or at home, has done little to address the underlying problems of U.S. policing or to prevent violent police killings like that of Nichols. Most people who call for more training as a response to abusive policing have little idea of what that really involves. Alex Vitale, a professor of sociology and author of The End of Policing, told The Intercept. The kinds of training police are given in Abraham is actually part of the problem because it encourages a warrior mindset in police and exposes them of practices that would be unconstitutional in the U.S. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Memphis Police Department, as well as many other PDs across the country, appear to be operating under the training of them folks. And if you know, like I know, how, quote, them folks treat the original occupants of the land that they're currently residing in, then now it starts to make all the sense in the world why those 5 officers thought it was okay to beat Tyree Nichols the way that they did. Because that's exactly what goes on in, quote, Abraham. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. And also, please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as an insurance plan for myself. So in case YouTube ever gives me the axe, I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but certainly not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the #1 way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those of you who have issues with joining Patreon, you can also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you haven't already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.